Alright, Dead by Daylight, Supernatural. That's the topic of the video today. We're going to be discussing a potential collab between Dead by Daylight and Supernatural. I think this would be the absolute perfect collab that could come to DBD just because it's like Sam and Dean. They're hunters, survivors, they hunt monsters, demons, God himself, all that crap, and I think it would just be perfect in this game. And anybody who thinks otherwise, I think you're just tripping. Like, if it was up to me, bro, Scooby-Doo would be in this game already, you know? I think we gotta stop gatekeeping certain types of collabs from DBD and just accept that this game would be better when we get all these types of collabs, all these types of just overall communities coming together in DBD, because I think it would be absolutely perfect. Like, some collabs that I would have in this game would be, as we can see, Supernatural, Scooby-Doo, Courage the Cowardly Dog, House of Wax, stuff like that, you know? I think, of course, some of them fit the vibe more than others, but I think it would be cool to have all these sorts of collabs in here. And as I said today, I want to focus on Supernatural. We'll be going over survivors, the skins, the killer, and the map. Now, here's the thing. I don't know how to edit. I'm not really good at doing edits and stuff like that. I just mainly do cuts and zoom-ins. So I made this in a PowerPoint, and we're just going to go over all this. So don't make fun of me too much. You know, I'm using a PowerPoint and, you know, whatever. That's just my skill set right now. But if you like what you see, let me know. Let me know what you would do differently in this collab or what other collabs you would want to have in DBD. And overall, let's just have a civil discussion, you know? I know people can be pretty strict in this game and pretty angry and just overall be like, no, this is a stupid idea. No, we should do this. Let's just be chill. Let's just have fun with this. Because I had a lot of fun making this, and I'm really excited to share this with other people. So yeah, just let me know what you guys think. All right, so let's just get into it. First things first, Dean Winchester. Now, every thing you see that's in quotes, I will leave in the description below. I used mainly two sites to get my quotes from, and that's from the Supernatural Wiki and the Supernatural Fandom. So if you guys have any questions ever while watching that show or in this video, you know, you can check out that fandom. It has a lot of great insights, details, and overall lore about the show. So let's start. So we have Dean Winchester. Next to him, we have the Mark of Cain. And Dean Winchester was a human hunter, as well as a member of the Men of Leathers. With his younger brother Sam, both Sam and Dean were raised into hunting life by their father after the demon Azazel killed their mother. Dean's main role in the series is being the self-appointed guardian of Sam and often going to extreme lengths to protect him regardless of personal cost. This description, you will find this description in some of the perks that I've created for him. Because I think it's important if we have a lot of, I guess, callbacks to the collab we're doing, whether it's through the skins or the perks or certain dialogue they have. So I did that through the perks in this. So let's look at the first perk. Now the first perk is called the Mark. The Mark allows you to summon the Mark for 66 seconds and become the obsession until you are hooked. This cannot be overridden by other players that have this perk and can only happen once per player and then again when all generators are repaired. So it's similar to Plot Twist, where you can do a plot twist once in the game and then after the gens are repaired you do it again. So you get two per player for this. But if you yourself use it, another player cannot use it because you have to be the obsession to use this perk. So that other player would have to wait until the 66 seconds are up or until you are hooked, and then you can use it. And players will see like a glowing red mark on the survivor that will indicate that they are using this perk. So what this perk does, when you are the obsession, you have the option to choose from 3 abilities after summoning the Mark. Ability number 1 is channel the Mark's power to create scratch marks in every direction of you within a 16-meter distance and sprint 66% faster for 6 seconds. So imagine you're running from a killer, and obviously the killer can see your scratch marks. So you spawn a bunch of scratch marks, like everywhere. Maybe you use a sprint burst while doing this, or you go around the corner, you do this, you hide in a locker, and they don't know where you're at anymore because now there's scratch marks everywhere. They don't see you. So I think this would be a super cool um, power to have, just because it's like the mark is channeling like that demonic power and just having all those scratch marks go everywhere. So that's ability number one that you can choose. Number two is when you are in the dying state, channel the mark's power. If you have fully healed yourself in the dying state, the mark raises you from the dead. If a killer picks you up while the mark is powered, your wiggle speed is increased by 66%. So imagine you're on the floor, you're dying, maybe you're getting slugged. You activate this perk, or you've already activated this perk before, and the killer just downs you right away. While you're on the ground, healed yourself, to the help icon. You can press the button again, it raises you up. But imagine the killer comes to you before you're able to fully heal. Well, now your wiggle speed is increased by 66%. So you're able to do this a lot quicker. Now to the third ability. Channel the mark's power on a closed or open chest to grab a random, very rare or better item. This item gains an effectiveness of 66%, but runs out 6% quicker and gets destroyed upon depletion. Now, the reason why I chose this as a power for the mark is it kind of reminds me of, if you've watched the show, you know that he gets the first blade, I believe. Yeah, that's what it's called, the first blade, and he's able to use it and kill like Abaddon and stuff like that. I just thought, like, what if we're able to get like a super strong item with this when the mark is active and it works like insanely better, but at a cost? Because everything I feel like with the mark comes at a cost, so it's interesting to add that element into it. But that's the perk. So you either can spawn scratch marks everywhere, you can raise yourself from the dead, or you can get an item. A very good item at that. And obviously, you don't have to use the item. You can get the item and then keep it for later, or leave the trial with it, and now you have it. So that's perk number one. Let's move on to perk number two. Perk number two, My Brother's Keeper. When taking a protection hit for a survivor, this perk activates. The survivor that was saved breaks out into a sprint at 100% speed for 2 seconds, and you see each other's aura until that survivor loses another health state. You become exhausted for 20 seconds, and you heal 66% faster for 66 seconds. So there's two things with this perk. Imagine you two are running, friend is about to go down, or maybe they're healthy, and you don't want them to get another hit. You take that hit instead, and now they run 100% faster for 2 seconds, and now maybe the killer is chasing you. Now to balance this a bit, you become exhausted, so you can't like use a dead hard for this. But if you manage to escape, or maybe you get hooked and then you get unhooked early, you still have 66% healing for 66 seconds. So it's a nice buff. And the reason I chose this perk is it's in reference to Dean killing Death to save Sam and his humanity. So that's why you kind of get the Death's like scythe for that specific perk. I think this could work very well. Maybe if you even pair it with other perks, like Man of Metal or something like that. The Ash perk, where you have to get 3 times to take a protection hit. You know, this could help combo with that and make it worth your while until you get that 3rd hit. So yeah, that's the second perk. I think this fits Dean very well. He's very protective, and I think him trying to save another survivor and having that survivor gain something out of it while he himself also gains but hurts himself at the same time, I think works perfectly. We have the sword. When on Death Hook, this perk activates and you are presented with 3 hard skill checks. For each skill check succeeded, gain an additional 6 seconds on the hook. Missing these skill checks does not affect the hook timer. So if you miss these skill checks, you don't die any quicker. I think that would kind of be unfair if you just died super quickly because these are going to be pretty hard skill checks, and it just puts your team at such a disadvantage. So I don't know if I want it to be like that, but I get why if some people want it to miss, or like I get why some people would want it to affect the hook timer if you miss them to balance it out. But for now, we're keeping it where if you hit them, you gain something. If you don't, you don't. So let's see what else this perk does. If you only hit one skill check and you are unhooked, you leave no scratch marks or pools of blood for 6 seconds. So you hit one skill check, you gain 6 seconds on the hook, and when you are unhooked, the killer basically does not know where you are. Like if you have Iron Will, you're silent. So let's see what happens if you hit 2 skill checks. If you only hit 2 skill checks and you are unhooked, gain the endurance status effect for an additional 6 seconds, and your grunts of pain are reduced by 66 seconds for 6 seconds. So I believe the endurance status effect is like 10 seconds, so now you get it for 16 seconds, and you're quieter. So this would help in like end game, or just maybe you have a gen or 2 gens left, and you're getting tunneled, and now this could help you just escape while another survivor maybe takes some protections on top of that. So let's see what happens if you get 3 skill checks. If you successfully hit all 3 skill checks and you are unhooked, you'll be automatically healed and gain the speed bonus for an additional 2 seconds. So this is reminiscent of the old Adrenaline. Pretty sure Adrenaline doesn't do this anymore. So basically the old Adrenaline was if you had this perk and you were hooked, when all the gens were completed, you would get unhooked and be healed. It doesn't do that anymore, I believe. I haven't really run it since they kind of nerfed it. But this is reminiscent of that. And it's a callback for me to the show because Dean is referenced as the sword because he's the perfect vessel for Michael. He's Michael's vessel. And I think just getting unhooked and being healed and just running, for an additional 2 seconds is just very good. So I think this perk is really cool. It's limited to just a death hook. So you would really be running only 3 perks for the majority of the game until you're on death hook. But I think this is a great perk to have in a Swift if you're playing solo especially. Because usually people just don't get you. Like I usually just die on death hook because nobody ends up grabbing me, and it just sucks, and I get hooked twice and now I'm dead. So I think this is a great perk to have for both scenarios. Now obviously killers might hate this, but don't worry, we have some good killer perks to look at towards the end of the video. But moving on, let's look at the skins. Now these are all the potential skins that I think Dean could have. Now obviously he could have a lot more, but these are just some that I think would be cool. The first one, which would probably be maybe his default one or a variation, would be Season 1 Dean. I think Season 1 Dean is just so iconic, and I think he could just have that be his default skin, or just another skin you could buy. Then you have like the other earlier seasons for Dean, who kind of switches up his vibe. And then you have the later season Dean, who him and like Sam usually start looking similar in terms of style. So I think that would be cool to have that as a skin. Now, these next 3 are interesting because they're bad guys. They're very powerful bad guys, but they're used as survivors. So I get why that might be weird because, you're going to have these guys as survivors when they actually have powers, but it could be explained like the entity reduced them to nothing and now they're just survivors. So we have Deanman, we have Dean Michael Possessed, and then we have Dean Michael, which I like to call the Peaky Blinders Michael. So I think these 3 would be super cool. You have the black eyes for Dean, you have the blue eyes for Michael on both. I think this would be a pretty cool one, and maybe even do like special voice lines for these, because obviously these would be voiced. The next one, you would have Dean as a priest. This would be super funny. You could even do the ones where they have no sleeves. I think that would be super funny. But then we move into like the variations of where there are actually going to be other people. And the first one, obviously, Cass. You know, people always ship them. Destiel. So I think that would be cool to have him, and just their best friends too. So I think Castiel being a variation of Dean would be a nice touch in this game. Then you have Mary. I feel like Dean had obviously a bigger connection to Mary and more almost resentment towards her. So I think it would be cool to have her as a skin for him. And then you have Charlie. That she was basically his little sister, and especially after what happens in the show later on and how mad he was at Sam for it, I think she's a perfect person to uh, be for Dean. And then last but not least, you have Benny. Benny was basically his boyfriend. They were perfect buddies. They were super nice together, and I think they would fit. Now, of course, you have other people that could fit in this, but these are the main people that I thought we could get first. If you have any other like decisions, comments, let me know, and we'll see how we want to do that. Because of course, I could do a part two to this and just add more people, maybe different, like a part two collab, different characters, different perks, stuff like that. So moving on, we have now Sam. Sam Winchester. By the way, don't mind this pose. I found this pose so weird, but I couldn't find any other like good pics of Sam just standing there. Like this just looks like the season 5 one when he was possessed. But Sam Winchester was a hunter as well as a man of letters, along with his older brother Dean. Sam was predestined to be the true vessel of the fallen archangel Lucifer, whilst Dean was Michael's. When Sam was exactly 6 months old, his mother Mary was killed in his nursery by the yellow-eyed demon Azazel. Azazel fed Sam demon blood, attempting to turn him into one of the special children. Now this is important. This is important lore that you will see in the perks. Perk number 1, we have Demon Blood. When in the injured state, you gain the ability to drink Demon Blood. Now this is probably going to be the most controversial perk, I think. I don't think people would want this perk, but I really want this perk. I think this would be super cool. So, after consuming Demon Blood, you are immune to the killer's unique power status effect for 100 seconds. Anytime the killer attempts to use their power against you, gain 6% of health. This perk goes on cooldown for 66 seconds. So after that 100 seconds, it goes on cooldown for another 66 seconds, and then you start again. So basically, imagine a clown tries to use a bottle against you to hinder you. Well, you have this perk activated. Guess what? The clown can't hinder you. Plague tries to infect you. Plague can't infect you. Legion tries to hit you and make you mend. Now, although mending is not specific to Legion, it is kind of his main power, so you can't do that anymore. And Wesker can't infect you. Oh, Nemesis can't infect you. This works basically against everything. I know this sounds super OP, but I mean, the killer could just M1, you know? They could just M1. But I think this would be super cool. And this is in reference to Sam being addicted to demon blood. So I think this would fit perfectly. And you would have an animation. I like perks with animations. So I think having an animation of you pulling out like a vial of blood and drinking it would be super cool. And I think kind of balance this out. You would have the killer get a perk notification when attempting to hit you with their unique power. So similar to when you're doing like a gen and you see a nerving presence. So this would be the same thing. Now I know this perk is OP. I know it's OP, but you know what? Let's have fun little. We've had more OP things. I think killers would be fine, especially with some perks that I have for them. So let's move on to the next perk. Perk number 2. Book of the Damned. After cleansing or blessing a totem, you gain the ability to use the Book of the Damned once per totem. Or you cleanse or bless a totem, you have this perk. Use the abilities that I'm about to show you. The perk goes away, and then you have to cleanse or bless another totem for it to activate again. So let's look at these abilities. If you are suffering from a killer's unique power, use the Book of the Damned to cleanse yourself. So, similar to the previous perk, it's not immunity, it's just you're cleansing yourself. So if you're suffering from Wesker's power, you know, you're getting infected by it, you can't really find a spray, you use this perk, and you know, you open the Book of the Damned. We're gonna have an actual animation as well, where you open it, you say a couple things, I don't know how long, maybe 6 seconds, maybe less, and then it cleanses you. You no longer have that status effect on you. So let's look at the number 2 ability. When near an ally in the dying state, use the Book of the Damned to resurrect them immediately with the broken status effect for 33 seconds while giving you 100% healing speed bonus for 66 seconds. So this comes at a cost. You heal them right away, but they're broken, so they can't really heal. But you also get 100% healing for 66 seconds. So you could wait out the 33 seconds and then heal them, but you would be wasting a lot of time. So do you stay together? Do you split up? What do you do at that point? This would also require some communication, because imagine playing solo and someone uses this on you and now you're broken. Maybe you had Unbreakable. Maybe you had Plot Twist. But now you can't use both because you're broken. You can't do anything about it. So this would need some communication. And again, it sounds OP, but I think only in the right situations. So, ability number 3. When in the dying state, use the Book of the Damned to give you 6% faster crawling and recovery speed, and then an additional 6% crawling and recovery speed if the killer is within a 24-meter radius. So you would have 12% to crawling and recovery speed if the killer is near you, which is good. Your grunts of pain become 66% louder in a 24-meter radius. Now I know this sounds insane and sounds dumb, but hear me out. These grunts of pain are not directional, meaning they can hear it at all times if they're near you. So similar to how if you're like tier 3 in like the doctor's power and you hear all those noises, that's what the killer would hear, kind of. So he's kind of disoriented. He doesn't know where you are. He knows you're in the vicinity, but maybe you've crawled away, he doesn't know where you are, and you're like, okay, what the hell is going on? I can't see you. But imagine he picks you up. If the killer picks you up while this is active, they suffer from the hindered status effect and become stunned for an additional 2 seconds if you escape. So they're slower if they pick you up, and then if you escape, they get stunned longer. This would be insane on the Swift, I think. It would be super cool. And I think we'd have never really had a killer or a survivor perk that actually slows the killer down while they pick you up, right? Because, you know, the killer has agitation, but we've never had a perk for a survivor that's opposite to that. Because usually we have opposites. We have like mirrored perks for survivors and killers, but we've never had that one, and I think this would be super cool. Also, I know I just realized I spelled meter without the R. Don't worry about that. You probably didn't notice it, but now you did. And like before, this is in reference to the show. Sam learns how to use this book from Rowena, and he becomes very good with like speaking Latin and using these abilities. So I think this would fit perfectly for him, and it would be on theme with like cleansing or blessing a totem. All right, next perk. Perk number 3. Moose and Squirrel. Now I know this is a weird name, so I'll just tell you right away if you haven't watched Supernatural. There's a demon named Crowley in the show, and he calls Sam and Dean Moose and Squirrel. So that is the reference to it. Now, let's look at what this perk does. When you are within 16 meters of a survivor and one of you is injured, this perk activates. So think of those teamwork, like those power of 2 perks, but I believe those perks, you have to heal a survivor and then it activates. So this is different. This is if a survivor is injured and either of you enter in each other's radius, it activates. The healthy survivor heals and does gen 6% faster, while the injured survivor runs 6% faster and performs rushed actions 6% faster. So imagine you're running and you go near a survivor that has this perk. Like mid chase, you're running away, and then this perk activates because the survivor on the gen has this perk. So now you, the injured survivor, are running 6% faster, and you're able to do rushed actions faster. So this could help you, and if the survivor is still on the gen, this helps them finish that gen quicker. So now this perk lingers for 33 seconds after being more than 16 meters away from each other, or if one of you goes down, or if the injured survivor is healed. So you enter the vicinity, this perk is now on, and it's going to remain on because one of you is healed, the other is injured, and it will go away, or it will linger for 33 seconds if you leave each other, if one of you goes down, or if that initial injured survivor is healed. So then you'll have just 33 seconds. It's no longer a permanent effect. Now this perk has additional effects. If one of you goes down while the other is within 16 meters, break out into a sprint at 100% of your normal speed for 3 seconds. So imagine one of you goes down, the other person is now sprinting for 3 seconds. Now what happens if you're outside that 16 meters? If one of you goes down while the other is outside the 16 meters, gain an additional 12% speed to your respective boost for an additional 2 seconds. So imagine you are the initial injured survivor and you had that 6% faster speed and rushed actions. You now gain an additional 12% to that. So you have 18% faster speeds and rushed actions for an additional 2 seconds. So for 35 seconds instead of that 33 seconds. I know that sounds insane, but F it, why not, bro? Let's just do it. So if you're the survivor who had the healing and gen faster side of things, you would now heal 18% quicker, do gens 18% quicker for 35 seconds. This could be OP. We could probably tweak the additional percentage you get, but for now, that's what we have. So if you disagree with this, let me know. Let me know what you would do differently. Now, we move on to skins. So, similar to Dean, I want a bunch of skins for Sam throughout the show, and then other people that Sam could be. So we have Season 1 Sam. Then we have Lucifer Sam. So I know this is like right off the bat. This is like his Season 5 fit. So you wouldn't even have to maybe make this Lucifer. You could just have Sam wearing this. And then you would have the later season Sam with like the longer hair, maybe more of a beard, and then, it just seems more mature. I also want Soulless Sam specifically with this outfit, no shirt. You could do the same thing for Dean, by the way, a shirtless Dean. I think people would love that. Behavior would make so much money off of those skins alone. But I think those would be perfect. Then you have the later season Sam. So similar to the other one, just with a different outfit. Maybe this one has a bigger beard, a longer hair, something like that. But I think it's important to have variations within the season. So then you have my favorite ones, which is Samifer, which is Lucifer possessing Sam. I think this as a skin, like an all-white suit with the red eyes, would be absolutely perfect. I really want to see that in the show. I think this is his best fit too. He just played that so well. And I think the voice line specific to this would be cool because his tone is very, very different. So it would be cool. And then you have Gadriel. So I included this because I like the fact that he has the blue eyes. So I think it would be cool, similar to Dean with Michael possessed. So instead, this is Sam with Gadriel possessing him. Then you have Ruby, which is actually... So Jared is the guy who plays Sam. This is his actual wife in real life, and she plays Demon on the show. So I think this would be perfect. It would be reference to that. Then you would get his, I guess, on-screen girlfriend, and I believe it was never confirmed, but she's his wife towards the end, Eileen. I think Eileen would be perfect. And then you would have Jack. Jack and Sam were very I want to say brothers, but it almost felt like Sam was also like his dad a bit, where like he was always taking care of him and he was trying to just be there for him while Dean was very pushy. So I think Jack would be a perfect version of a skin for Sam. Although even though Jack is super powerful, again, I think we who cares, you know? We can make him a survivor. And then you have Rowena, which is the witch that Sam learned the powers from, which I think would be super cool. All right, now moving on to the killer. And I think this is my favorite one because I managed to create power for this killer that I kind of struggled on because I'm like, well, how can we make this fit? How can we do this? And I think I managed to do it. So, this is the killer. Some of you probably guessed it. Some of you probably thought I would do somebody else. But this is the killer that I've picked for this chapter. The yellow-eyed demon, Azazel. So, as we know with all the killers, you know, you have, like, the mastermind, and then you have Wesker. So this would be the yellow-eyed demon, Azazel. And this is Azazel's symbol. And then Azazel was a powerful demon and a prince of hell who served Lucifer. Prior to his death, Azazel was also the tyrannical leader of the demon world. Azazel planned to bring his army of black-eyed demons forth from hell to unleash upon the world in preparation for the apocalypse. In my opinion, I think Azazel is the most iconic and just perfectly written villain in the entire show. He just had a wit to him, a power to him, and just a fear to him that I don't think we ever got again on this show. And of course, you could pick any other villains, but I think just him just being an icon is enough, man. He was just the first very big bad, and he really started it all. Like, he started this entire show, and he was such a mystery, and then his yellow eyes, his iconic yellow eyes as opposed to the black eyes that other demons had, just perfect. And I think he would fit perfectly into this game just from, like, his powers that he has. Because I've always wanted this power in the game. So you're about to see it, and I hope you like it. So, Azazel's power. His first power. As a prince of hell, Azazel is considerably stronger than the regular demon and possesses a wide range of powers. Power number 1. His most basic power is telekinesis. This power enables him to throw a forcible gust of energy in front of him, injuring any survivor in his way and throwing that survivor forward. So imagine it kind of like Wesker, where Wesker dashes. So instead of Azazel actually dashing himself, he throws like a gust of energy or a gust of wind in his direction. Just like how demons do it in the show. And if you're in front of him and you're healthy, you get injured. And it throws you. It throws you. That's important. Now imagine the survivor is injured already. So if a survivor is already injured and they land on an object, they are stuck momentarily against that object. So imagine I'm injured. I'm running from Azazel. Azazel throws that gust of wind towards me, and I hit a wall. I am now against that wall. Similar to the picture in the top right, I'm just stuck against that wall. And I can't move. I'm just stuck there. And I'm just like, well, alright, what do I do now? So, a survivor can escape Azazel's grasp if Azazel himself lets them go. So Azazel can walk up to them and just grab them off of it. Or another survivor helps them. While a survivor is stuck, their aura is revealed to other survivors, and any survivor helping them is revealed by Killer Instinct for 6 seconds. So, a strategy that you could use with this killer. Imagine you have 1 gen left, and you throw a survivor against the wall. You're like, okay, well, I could grab them and put them on hook, but that would be wasting time. What if I keep them against a wall, run to the gen that I had saw being worked on, and now another survivor has to go help them while I chase the other two survivors. So it creates a thing where you're really creating a lot of distractions for the survivors. And I think this is a cool power to have. And while it does sound a bit OP, because you're kind of forcing survivor to not really do much, now they're stuck against a wall, and it could be frustrating, but it's something I think that you would just have to either, it's like RNG. Either the killer picks you up or he keeps you there, or a survivor picks you up immediately. Maybe a survivor's already with you. So it's all about really more teamwork. Because I think in solo, it would be nice if there's more teamwork, and it would be nice if there's more perks that enable teamwork and enable that sense of like, we're not just going to play solo, you know? So yeah, in the show, Azazel, he does this a lot, including the boys' mothers. He like lights them on fire. Now, obviously, we're not going to do that in this. There's no fire in his powers in my version of him as a killer in DBD. But anybody else could have those. So let's look at his second power, teleportation. Using his black smoke, Azazel can shoot up in the sky from his position and travel to any generator regardless if it's finished or not. The entire skybox fills with black smoke, and Azazel can only see the auras of these generators. So think of Freddy. You know how Freddy can teleport to generators and he comes out of those generators? Imagine that power, but you're in the air. So the animation starts with you just flying to the sky as black smoke. Because in the show, demons can become like black smoke to just travel around the world. And that's what this would be. So then you fly up to the sky, you see the generators, you pick a generator, and then the animation starts where the smoke travels to that generator, and then you end up there. And that's how the survivors see it too. The survivors will see the smoke in the air. They'll see the black smoke almost come down like a meteor towards that generator. And then that's how they'll know when you're like, when the killer is on their way. And the cooldown would be similar to like Freddy's teleport. So, white generators are completed, red generators are active, and yellow generators are being worked on. So this would be the information you would see, because that's all you can see. Everything else will be black. You'll just see the auras of the generators. And I want it to be where you can teleport to any generator regardless if they're finished or not, because I think it's kind of dumb, like with Freddy, that he can't teleport anymore if a generator is done. Maybe the yellow one is a bit OP because then you could know. So maybe we could just have it be white and red instead of yellow, but I thought adding a yellow would be cool because of his yellow eyes. It would just be something to have. Now this next part is probably going to piss people off. Once Azazel teleports to a generator, that generator is blocked by demonic powers for 6 seconds and suffers from a 6% regression hit. Anybody within a 6-meter radius of the generator is revealed for 3 seconds. So, it's bad enough he can teleport to the gen you're at, but then when he teleports, that gen is now blocked for 6 seconds. And during those 6 seconds, it immediately gets hit with a 6% regression hit, and it starts regressing even more. So this is something you want to play around. And then, maybe you're like, okay, well, I can just stay here while he's teleporting to me. Well, guess what? Now he sees your aura. So maybe you want to run away before this happens. Or you want to use that one perk that blocks a gen and then run away. So it adds like some decision making for you, which I like in games. Where, okay, do I have to do this? Do I have to do this? Do I just stick the gen? Do I stay around here? Do I run away a lot? Like, what do we do? And I think this is perfect. So now this next part, this is the part that's my favorite ability for this killer. And I wish we've had an ability for this already, but sadly we don't. This is probably a controversial one. Power number 3, demonic possession. After downing a survivor, Azazel gains the ability to possess them. This, in my opinion, would be the funnest power to use in the game. This survivor remains on the ground, unable to move or have their aura revealed to other survivors. So it's sort of like knockout. Now, I know people find knockout problematic, but what are we gonna do? I like making things problematic, even more than they already are. If a survivor manages to find them, they can be exorcised and Azazel is immediately forced into the air. So the way this works is you can possess a survivor, but it's not going to be like the show where they possess somebody and then that person, like, there's only one of them now. They're in that person and they travel as that person. This is that survivor is going to stay on the ground, but now you look like them too. So there's going to be two of them. There's going to be the survivor and there's going to be you as a survivor. Because I think it would be a little weird if you become the survivor and now that survivor can't like do anything at all for the almost like that rest of that power. This at least gives them a chance to be exorcised, to be found, and whatnot. So, once the survivor is possessed, Azazel loses the ability to teleport, but can now travel the match looking like the survivor for the next 66 seconds. So there's a timer on it, 66 seconds. That doesn't seem like a lot of time, but it's fun. It's balanced, I think, with that timer. And now you're the survivor. You look like the survivor. During this possession, Azazel can still use his telekinesis, but he gains supernatural perception. Supernatural perception allows Azazel to see the perks of the survivor he's possessing, and forces them to go on cooldown for 60 seconds after possession. Imagine I possess a survivor, and then after 66 seconds are up, or after the survivor is exorcised, and he gets up, well, guess what? Now they can't use their perks for 60 seconds. I think it's super cool to have an ability where the killer can see your perks. I know that's very controversial because, it's nice to be hidden and it's nice to guess what perks they have. But I think it's really nice if you're going against a Swift and then you down the survivor, you possess them, and you're able to see what they're running. I think this is so cool. This is so cool because now you have information kind of against all of them because you're like, okay, well, maybe other survivors are running these similar builds. So this is cool. But that's not all. Azazel has no terror radius during the possession and can drop pallets and work on gens. Although he cannot actually progress the gens, he can work on them. And he cannot start chase until he attacks a survivor or reveals his yellow eyes. So usually in the show, when a demon is possessing someone, you won't know unless that demon is showing their eyes or they actually use their powers. So unless Azazel uses his powers or like hits a survivor with a basic attack or reveals his eyes, they don't know. He has no terror radius. He's just a survivor. Now imagine he does attack a survivor or he does reveal his yellow eyes. His terror radius now increases 66 meters. So now a lot of people can hear him. And you're just causing havoc. Now this could be a hindrance because now survivors are just going to be running from you. But it's also cool because now everyone's on edge. Like, oh my god, is he near me? Is he near me? Well, no, he's chasing that guy. But wait, he can just... Because this terror radius is on at all times, he could just run towards me now without me knowing. So I think this is cool. Now don't worry. I know all this sounds OP. But we do have weaknesses for Azazel. Alright, post-production Kiwi here. I realized I forgot to mention a part of the power in relation to the possession. So when you possess somebody, obviously it's going to be an issue if it still shows them like on the ground dying, because then if you show up near the other survivors, they're going to know you're possessing them. So it's not going to be like a trick type of thing. You can't really play tricks on them. You can't mess around and stuff like that. So I was thinking, what if when you do possess them, they immediately stand up and they're just motionless, like they're just looking down on the ground, and then the icon for them at like the bottom left shows them just like healthy or injured, like it doesn't really give an indicator. So I think that could be a workaround like that, just to make it where like there's no clear indicator that you're actually possessing somebody. just right away. Because imagine you possess them, but it still shows that they're on the ground. Everyone's gonna know that, well, first of all, wait, if they're on the ground, how are they next to me? Obviously, that's the killer. Do you know what I mean? So if you have any ideas on how we could work this out, let me know. But that's one way that I've thought of. But all right, thank you. I'll see you guys later. Bye bye. Now his weakness during the game, similar to how the Xenomorph has a weakness with the fire traps. Azazel has two weaknesses. Salt. Salt can be found throughout the trial in salt deposits, and it will be available by rummaging through a locker. Salt deposits can be thrown at Azazel to hinder him, so you can use this to hinder him and slow him down a lot, maybe to even like cancel his power potentially. Now the reason why I did hinder instead of a more disadvantage for him is because in the show he's really immune to a lot of things except what he's holding right here, the Colt, and this next part, which he has a disadvantage towards. Iron devil traps, not just regular devil traps, iron. Throughout the trial, iron devil traps will be located at predetermined locations and can be activated by interacting. So you can actually move these around. These spawn throughout the map. Like how gens spawn, like how hooks spawn, these spawn throughout the map. So it's RNG. Once a devil trap is activated, you can stand inside them. So they get activated by you walking up to them and like closing it basically. You become semi-invulnerable. While Azazel can still injure you, he cannot possess or pick you up until that trap breaks. So you stand inside of it, he hits you, you fall down in that trap, but he can't actually pick you up. He can't possess you. He either has to wait or just leave. Because these traps will break after an X amount of time, or another survivor interacts with it. So if another survivor comes to heal you, that trap breaks now. And it goes on cooldown, or it's just gone. So that's how I want to balance it, and that's his weakness. And I think these two would be super cool for him because they fit with the theme of like the demons in the show, and it's just fits specifically to him because of what he's weak to. I actually wanted to add the Colt, which is a gun, to DBD, but I don't know how that would actually go well with people. So I was like, let me just do this instead. All right, now we move on to Azazel's perks. All of these have a connection to what he does in the show. So perk number 1, which is actually his symbol that you've been seeing throughout this video. Sigil of Azazel. At the start of the trial, the obsession is marked with the Sigil of Azazel. Gain a token for a max of 3 tokens every time the obsession succeeds at a skill check. For every token available, you see the obsession's aura for 1 second every 30 seconds. Now I know this sounds like an object of obsession, but there's more. Every 66 seconds, the obsession suffers from a 6% penalty to all action and a 6% hindered status effect for 6 seconds. So if you have 3 tokens, you see them for 3 seconds every 30 seconds. And then every 66 seconds, they suffer from 6% to everything basically for 6 seconds, which could make or break certain things. Imagine they're about to complete a gen, suddenly they're pretty hindered and they have a penalty to all of these things, and you just catch up right in time and you're able to catch up, stop that gen from being completed, and attacking them. Now you lose all tokens when your obsession is hooked, and this perk goes on cooldown after hooking an obsession for 66 seconds. Now, some people might not think this is strong enough, which I do agree. It's a bit toned down, I think. Maybe we could make the 66 seconds shorter or something like that. But this next part is something that I've wanted in the game for a bit. Now, usually killers will release with their perks, and sometimes they don't really synergize well with their own perks. I think this feature would allow for more synergy and more encouragement to use their own perks. If you are Azazel while using this perk, gain an additional second for every token available. So now you get 6 seconds of aura read every 30 seconds. So 2 seconds for every token available if you are Azazel. Any other killer just gets the 3 seconds. but Azazel himself gets 6 seconds. And I think it's super cool to have that as a feature. I don't know how you would do that with every perk. Maybe it's too much of a balancing nightmare whenever you want to nerf things, but I think it's kind of cool to have killer specific buffs for perks. So this next perk, the Final Seal, I think this is my favorite one from him. Now this one is in reference to what's her name, Lilith, I believe, who he basically assigns the task of helping release Lucifer, because they have to break 66 seals, and it turns out she's the final seal. So even though they eventually beat her, beating her allows her to basically open up the final seal, and then Lucifer gets set free. So this is in reference to that. When all generators are repaired, this perk activates. So basically the generators are the final seal. Any hex totem that was cleansed or blessed is restored for the remainder of the trial. And for 60 seconds, you see the auras of survivors within 6 meters of a totem. We've never really had a perk like this, I think, right? Where a hex totem is restored, other than that one where they have a life. Like they have 1 life and then they spawn to another totem, right? I forgot that perk's name, but this one basically, if you're running like 3 hex perks, they're all back now. They're all back now, and they have to be cleansed again. Now, what's the buff if Azazel has this? If you're Azazel while using this perk, gain an additional 6 seconds and 1 meter. So, you for 66 seconds, you see the auras of survivors within 7 meters of a totem. I was gonna make the aura read longer or further, but I think that would have been too OP. I think this is cool. You know, a lot of survivors, they'll have like adrenaline when all the generators are completed, or they'll have some perks activate again when gens are repaired. So I think this is perfect. I think this is a cool perk. It's an end game perk. I think it's nice to have more end game perks. And I don't personally think this is OP. I think this is cool. So I really think we could have a lot more hex totems and boon totems and stuff like that. So I think this would synergize well with them, especially because this is not a hex perk itself. It's supposed to be in conjunction with other hex totems, and honestly, it could just, maybe you want the aura read. I don't know. maybe you just want to run this with Noed, you know. And I know Noed, you can already see the aura if they're near. Actually, no. Do you see the aura if they're near Noed? I know you see the totem if you're near it, but do you see them if they're near it? I don't remember. I don't play killer as much as other people. I really am a mix between killer and survivor. Lately I've been doing more survivor, but let me know if I'm wrong. Perk number 3, blood communication. In the show, demons can communicate via blood. They do like some spell and then suddenly they talk to each other. It's like a phone, but blood. So that's the reference. When the survivor is injured by any means, this perk activates. So you can use your power and injure them and then activate this perk. Upon injuring a survivor, you see the aura of the next closest survivor for 6 seconds. If you injure that survivor within 66 seconds, you will see the next closest survivor for 6 seconds. So you injure survivor, now you see the next one for 6 seconds. You injure that survivor, now you see the next one for 6 seconds. So that's 3 survivors injured. Upon injuring your 3rd survivor, the auras of all survivors is revealed for 12 seconds, and your abilities are instantly refreshed from all cooldowns. So it's almost similar to Legion's power as a perk. Because, you know, when Legion hits somebody, he sees the auras of other survivors, then he hits another one, and then he sees the auras of the other ones for like a specific time. So this is similar to that, but then when you hit the 3rd survivor, now all of them are revealed for 12 seconds. And then if you have any perks on cooldown, or I mean abilities on cooldown, not perks, abilities, they're refreshed. So imagine your Vecna, Vecna has long cooldowns. Well, now with Vecna, your abilities are all refreshed now from your cooldowns, so you can start again. So I think that's cool. And then for every injured survivor while this perk is activated, your tear radius is reduced by 6 meters. So even if you just injure one survivor while this is active, it goes down by 6 meters. So you're already like being buffed. If 3 survivors are not hit by the time this perk goes on cooldown, then your tear radius will be increased by 12 meters. So this is kind of like a nerf in a way. Like it's gonna hinder you because now survivors know when you're closer, they have more time to run away. So it really, I guess, encourages you to go after other survivors instead of just maybe focusing on one. So this is cool. I like this perk. Let me know if you like it. I don't know. Maybe it's too complicated. Yeah, maybe it's too complicated. Maybe it's too much. I don't know. Let me know. And yes, this perk goes on cooldown for 66 seconds. So that is in reference to you have 66 seconds to hit the next survivor. If you don't do that within 66 seconds, it goes on cooldown for 66 seconds. And then, if you are Azazel, while using this perk, the time to injure survivors increased by 12 seconds. So now you have 78 seconds to injure a survivor instead of 66. So it's a bit of a balance. So let's look at the next slide, which is the skins. Now the skins, there wasn't much for me to do with them because he doesn't do much. So I'm just going to present them to you all at once and we'll just go through. Now these are the skins that I think he could run. The first skin at the bottom left is John Winchester, which is the boy's dad's, and I think it would be cool to see him as a killer. To the right is the boy's grandpa, and he's pretty cocky, so I think it would be cool to see him as a skin and just see him being super cocky when he's like injuring survivors and whatnot. Top right is a Reaper named Tara, I believe, and I think her as a killer, like as a skin, would be super cool, and it would just be a different vibe as opposed to him. And then you have the top left was when he possessed a priest, and in this scene he massacres basically all the nuns. Now this might be a controversial skin. I don't know how they'll probably want to do it. Maybe they don't want to go that route because people have a problem with basically everything nowadays. So I don't know how. Maybe that's too much. Maybe that's too much. I would understand if they don't want it. I would honestly understand. It's fine. All right, and now we move on to the map. The Men of Leather's Bunker, which is located in Lebanon, Kansas. The Men of Leather's Bunker, or the Bat Cave, as it was referred to by Dean Winchester, was the secret base of the Men of Leathers. It can only be accessed by a special key. I think maybe we could have something where you find this key in the trial, or the exit gates, instead of actually pulling down the lever, is you holding the key and putting the key into the lock and just waiting for it to activate. I think that would be cool. It was described as containing every object, scroll, and spell collected by the Order for over 1,000 years, as well as research and books on a variety of subjects. So here's what I think we could do something cool with. You see the map in the background and the table? The table has a map. I think we could include pictures of the killers we have in the game and include them on the map of where they're actually from. Maybe include potential collabs on there, potential future killers. But I think it would be cool to see that like Sam and Dean have been tracking these killers. Or maybe have it reference the entity. Like, man, there's this thing that's abducting people all over the world. What is it? And like we can see the notes that they have throughout the map. Maybe even we could see like throughout the map you'll have killer weapons. Like these are the killers that they killed. Like maybe you'll have the Wraith's Bell, or like Trapper's Bear Trap there or something like that, you know? I think that would be cool. The places I think we could include in the map, I think it would be cool to include almost every part of the actual bunker. So you have on the left the main area and the top area. You could have the exit gates there where the stairwell is at, maybe. But I think having a top and bottom part is important. It would be super nice. Maybe having a generator on the top left or in that room, some hook spots. As you can see on the left there, there's a door that goes downstairs. Maybe you could have the basement there. Or you could do the basement at the top where you see the person sitting with that symbol at the bottom. Maybe that's how the basement looks. Or maybe this area could be a secret area that opens up if you complete gens in a certain order. Then you have the library area with all the weapons and the various weapons they have and have collected over the years. And I think this is the place where you could have killer weapons at, like the spirit sword there, Oni sword, maybe Wesker's like power in a jar or something. Then you have the kitchen, you have the infirmary, and then you have the garage. And the garage could be another place where an exit gate could be. And this is the map of the actual bunker that I found online. You could do it different. You could make it bigger, add levels to it, a basement and a top layer. And you know, you have things like Jack's room, Sam's room, Dean's room. You have the dungeon. You have the infirmary that we showed. Like, it could be all cool. And then this is how the place looks from the outside. I thought I would show people just to see like how it would actually be. And I really think this could be a perfect map. And just a perfect collab in general, you know? So this is the map, and this is basically everything that I wanted to show. I think it's about time we get this collab in the game. I'm surprised they haven't done it. Maybe they are working on it. But I hope they really go all out with this collab. I think you could do 2 chapters of this, include more survivors, include more killers. Because, you know, I didn't even mention like Bobby or like other killers like the Leviathan or God himself or the Alpha Vamp or survivors like Jody and stuff like that. So I think we could do a lot more to this. I really think that this would be a fantastic collab. It would bring a lot of people to this game, and it would overall just make the whole atmosphere of the game better. So if you agree with me on these, let me know. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate you liking and subscribing, because I'm thinking of doing more content like this, like just showing off my idea. I have a lot of ideas for collabs. Like, bro, I have a Courage the Cowardly Dog idea that I kind of want to make a video on. So if you want to see that stuff, let me know. If you disagree with me on points, please, by all means, let me know what you would change. Let me know what you would do, but be respectful with it. You know, because I know things can get fairly heated in this community, and I want to create a space where we can just chill and vibe and just enjoy each other's company. And this is a way we can do that. So yeah, with all that being said, let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys whenever next time is. Peace out, homies.